Order side.
Oh, do you want me to
Okay.
I'm ready
So I'm
to
alive
That
as,
particular side we're supposed to be
I
in.
don't know. Is there a thing? Sorry, we'll come in. But yes. Courtney's panicking. I think she's been charged with delivering the signed agreement to our department. So she's like, we've only got one copy. We have to scan them.
Ready to go? Well, thanks very much. This is a great day for Brisbane, a great day for Queensland, but a great day for Australia as well. This agreement of $7 billion shows what governments can do when they work together. And I've been working so closely with Annastacia and her team to get this done. When there was a change of government, it was very clear that there hadn't been any money actually allocated in the budget for federal infrastructure support for the Games here in Queensland. And it's quite clear that we needed to step up and do our part, not just to create the best Games, but also to leave a lasting legacy for Queenslanders and for all who visit this great state of Queensland. And that's why I'm so excited by this. I know, as a Sydney-sider, the difference that a Games can make. And here in Queensland, this will consolidate this great city, as a global powerhouse. But it benefits not just Brisbane as well. It will benefit the whole state of Queensland, but will also benefit our national economy. That's why the federal government has an interest in this. The commitment today of $3.435 billion from the Commonwealth will make an enormous difference. $2.5 billion for the Brisbane Arena. A drop-in swimming pool that, once it's removed, will create a live venue for events in Queensland that will attract world-class entertainers. That will be a venue that will last for many decades into the future and that will create that economic activity here on an ongoing basis. In addition to that, up to $935 million for the minor venues, 16 of them, new and upgraded, shared between Queensland and the Commonwealth for funding on a 50-50 basis, making an enormous difference. Existing venues like the Flatwater Centre and Precinct for rowing, Sunshine Coast Stadium, Brisbane Aquatic Centre and Precinct, Barlow Park at Cairns making a difference, Toowoomba Sports Ground, Brisbane International Shooting Centre, Sunshine Coast Mountain Bike Centre, Anna Meares Velodrome and BMX track making a difference, and of course the Tennis Centre here in Queensland as well, something I have a particular interest in. New venues as well at Breakfast Creek, at Chandler Indoor Sports Centre for gymnastics, Sunshine Coast Indoor Sports Centre. I know my Treasurer is particularly excited about the Logan Indoor Sports Centre that is going to be built as well. The Redlands Whitewater Centre in canoeing. I know the difference that the Whitewater Centre in Penrith makes in Western Sydney, and as well the Moreton Bay Indoor Sports Centre. So can I congratulate the Queensland Government and the Premier in particular for the work that has gone into this. To have Olympics and Paralympics held here will be an exciting time for Brisbane. But the lead up as well, what you'll see is our young and even some not so young athletes training and working towards being able to compete at their home games, whether that be in the Olympics or the Paralympics. But on an ongoing basis as well, what you'll have is world-class facilities that provide recreation, but also do a bit more than that as well. You'll see more and more events attracted to this great state of Queensland, not just here in the southeast, but right throughout the state. And that's why the vision that Queensland has had for this, the forward-looking optimism, is what we need in this country. This will deliver just that and will make a major difference. And it's a proud day here today, and I thank the athletes as well, in particular, including the legendary former resident of Grainler, here, Dawn Fraser. We miss you, Dawny, but the pub's still going. The pub's still going.
She's an honorary Queenslander now.
And is going very strong. But I do thank everyone who's been involved in this. And this is just a next step. There's going to be many important milestones to be met in the lead up to 2032. But this will make an enormous difference to our economy, to our lifestyle, to how Australia is perceived as well in the world, which is why it's important that we get this right, and I'm very confident that we've done just that.
Thanks, PM, and it's wonderful to have the PM back in Brisbane and in Queensland, and it's a great day. We now see that intergovernmental agreement signed, sealed and delivered. I said that we were working on it, we were getting it right, and the outcome is tremendous. It is absolutely fantastic to see the commitments to our big stadiums, but also to that infrastructure for the new and the upgrades that are needed. Don't forget, over 80% of our infrastructure is already there. So, for example, a lot of the infrastructure on the Gold Coast is already there, which is a great, proud legacy of the Commonwealth Games. And today you heard the Prime Minister announce that there's going to be a brand new Brisbane Live over the Roma Street Cross River Rail, but also too the state government will be rebuilding the Gabba. That is a commitment of $2.7 billion, and it is absolutely connected in with the Cross River Rail. Why we are focused on the Gabba is because we will be declaring a PDA over the whole Gabba site leading into South Bank. This is absolutely critical for urban renewal. It will also be a fantastic legacy, but also connectivity for everybody during the Olympics. Of course, this is about the future. This is about setting Queensland up, not just for the next 10 years, but the 10 years thereafter. This will cement Queensland's place internationally, but also too, it is a lasting legacy for our athletes, our young people, and also about creating a healthier lifestyle. So in relation, as the PM said, we've got a shared commitment with the 15 new or upgraded venues. This is also a big infrastructure investment across our outer suburban areas, but also too with the Sunshine Coast, Toowoomba, Cairns, and of course we have already the existing stadium in Townsville that was also built cooperatively between the two levels of government. So wonderful to be involved. As I've been saying, there's been a lot of work happening behind the scenes, and today's the day that we've been able to announce this, and very pleased that the Deputy Premier's here, and also Minister Hinchcliffe. I know the Deputy Premier's been very much involved with this intergovernmental agreement.
Thank you.
Premier, with the Sydney Games, we saw delays of up to 20 years in the delivery of infrastructure promised by the event, freeways, etc. What is Queensland doing to make a difference in that respect? Yeah,
well, as I said, with the new norms, we already have over 80% of the venues, which is fantastic. When we had members from the International Olympic Committee come out here and we showcased what was already in existence, they were so impressed. They said you could almost hold the Games tomorrow. So what we know is that we do need these extra facilities for legacy purposes, like the Gabba is used all the time. The Brisbane Live has been talked about for many, many years. And of course we're going to drop that pool into it for the Olympics, and then it's going to be utilised for decades to come. This is about changing the landscape of Brisbane, but it's also about the connectivity with the Cross River Rail as well. So I'm really excited. We've got timelines. We'll be following the timelines. Our agreement talks about those timelines as well. So very, very pleased.
Why is the Gabba blown out by 1.7 billion?
Well, there's been a whole lot of factors taken into account. Of course, the prices have gone up for commodities and everything, and in terms of we're going to be doing the demolition. But this is not unusual. This is happening for projects this is happening with projects all around the world.
Has there been discussions yet with the Brisbane minds of Australia about what will happen during...
Yeah, we're going to be, we've been talking with them and we'll be talking with them further now that we have these timelines and now we have the funding. Can I say this is absolutely critical to have this joint funding with the federal government. I signed up with the host agreement, but now this is concrete funding for the delivery.
What's the logic behind the funding split, having the federal government pay for Brisbane Live and the state government pay for...
As I said, that priority development area, it is logical for us to look after the GABA, but of course the federal government and the state will be involved with the planning of the Brisbane Live. But that PDA, you can look out over there and see the GABA, is going to go all the way around and connect in with South Bank.
Yeah.
That's
we
pretty exciting.
wanted to make sure as well with the Infrastructure Minister, Catherine King, and with who's here and has done such an incredible job, the Sports Minister, Annika Wells. It's pretty handy having Queenslanders as sports ministers and treasurers, I've got to say, when Queensland is pitching up for a contribution. We wanted as well, because it's a defined area, to have the Brisbane Arena project as a Commonwealth responsibility, so that the nation could look at this as well and say, that is what we are contributing, because this is nation building. This event is a great event for Queensland, but it's great for Australia as well.
Well, Mr. on that point, what does it say about Brisbane's potential to become a major regional centre when you see what's happening in Hong Kong and other places within Southeast Asia? How's Brisbane's status going to grow in terms of its significance strategically, economically?
We are in the fastest growing region of the world in human history, just to our north. And that is what drives my government's agenda. That's why we're working with Queensland, not just on this, on the transformation in terms of clean energy. It's why we're driving the agenda on manufacturing through our National Reconstruction Fund that will particularly benefit Queensland. That's why we want to make more things here, but to see Australia also as a centre for export and trade to our north. We have a stable legal, political system. We have a multicultural community as well. That is a bonus for us, is a human asset, is what we have here in Queensland. And Queensland is positioned to be a driving force, perhaps more than, got to be careful being the national leader, but it has advantages over the states to our south because of its geographical location, because of its decentralisation, because of its leadership. So I see this as being very important in sending that message, in projecting the positive image of Queensland to our north, but indeed to the world as well.
Can I just ask about the blowouts? Will the games still be cost neutral, or will you have to seek additional contributions from the IOC?
No, we won't be seeking any further contributions from the IOC because the cost neutral is in terms of the running of the games. Yep, that's the agreement.
Who pays it? Sorry.
There's always been debate about how the infrastructure agency will operate. How will that run? How will it fund? I can't imagine Mr. Chalmers will be particularly pleased if every 12 months there's a request for an extra $1 billion. So how is infrastructure going to be funded by an agency, or it's not funded, coordinated? Is it going to be some agency that's going to do it, or how will that be done?
My understanding is it's through the two departments under the agreement. So it's the Prime Minister's relevant department and the Department of State Development.
So is it 50-50 on cost blowouts?
Sorry?
Is it 50-50 funding split on cost
My
blowouts?
understanding is that in the agreement, as I read it, there is capacity there that has been built in for any contingency. So I'm pretty confident that this is the envelope we're working to.
Yeah,
They've done a lot of work on the projections.
Yeah. So look, we're very confident about that we've actually worked through the detail. This isn't something that's been done on a coaster. This is something that's been worked through by our respective governments. That's why we will obviously have to account for this in our budget. We wanted to get this done well in advance as well of our May budget because the truth is that the former government didn't have this allocation. it had a sort of line in a letter, isn't how you fund projects. This is how you fund projects. Getting the detail, being very specific about what we're doing, including even for the temporary international broadcasting centre on top of the 15 sports project is there included in the agreement that we've signed up to today.
We were given a cost of $5 billion for the games in total. What is that total expected to be now?
The $5 billion earlier was without the full costings done, so the total now is $7 billion.
Yeah.
$7 billion.
2.7 now for the GABA. Are we getting more than was originally promised? Is there how much affordable and social housing will there be? Is it more of an area upgrade, or is it just the cost of those commodities?
I think the Deputy Premier will be talking more about that tomorrow in terms of that PDA.
There's a lot of concerns about not contributing to the GABA. Is that acknowledgement that you don't want to be associated with what's a controversial project and knocking it down and demolishing historic schools?
Not at all. What that is an acknowledgement that we want to be responsible for the Brisbane Arena project. We wanted to have something that was the legacy being left by the Commonwealth Government for that project. And the GABA redevelopment, of course, is about more than just the stadium. It's about the way that the city functions, and it is all about urban redevelopment as well, and making the city function, making it more livable, the way that it works with the Cross River Rail project. I said to the Premier earlier, we were both, this isn't the first agreement we've been a party to.
That's right.
We were both the Infrastructure Ministry. If it wasn't for the Newman and Abbott governments getting elected, people would be riding on Cross River Rail for the last 3 or 4 years.
I mean, so this contribution from the federal government of Queensland dwarfs that of the funding received by Sydney from Canberra. It multiplies it dramatically. To what extent in negotiating almost a 50-50 split did the federal government factor in some form of compensation for Queensland given your emissions target for 2030 and beyond, and the fact that only last week we saw the Environment Minister put the line through a proposed new mine in Queensland. Is that factor into your thinking at all, that we've got to sort of somehow offset those impacts?
Our climate change policy is going to benefit Queensland. The transition of lower emissions and use of cleaner energy here will be of enormous benefit for Queensland. It is no accident that our plans that have been announced in that area have usually been announced in Queensland. For example, Rio Tinto wants to transform its Gladstone refineries using clean energy, developing in the medium term as well, hydrogen. They see the enormous prospects that's there. The business community get it, the Queensland Government get it, we get it. The only people that don't are Peter Dutton and the Coalition, who are standing in the way of a safeguards mechanism that's before the Parliament, that is supported by the Business Council of Australia, the Minerals Council, the Australian Industry Group and Manufacturers, the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as the individual businesses who contribute and create jobs here in Queensland. So I see this as Queensland, of course, have argued a good case for support, and the Commonwealth is very happy to partner with Queensland, because we think that this is a part of the transformation that Australia needs over the next 10 years. There's no state more than Queensland. This is about better than Queensland. We need to make sure that we maximise the opportunity that's there for growth, and this is a part of it, making it livable, providing opportunity for people. And I think this is a very, very exciting day and a proud day for myself and my team, as well as Annastacia and her team. The Sydney Olympics was largely just driven from New South Wales rather than from the Commonwealth. This is a great example of what is happening in the National Cabinet, which is sitting down, not looking for arguments,
That's right.
looking for solutions, looking for outcomes, looking for how we work together. That's what Australians want.
Yep.
Now, Peter Dutton can go into a corner and argue with himself, and I know that he'll find some reasons to be critical of this because he's critical of everything. People are over it. People voted for optimism, they voted for hope, they voted for a positive plan, and that's what we're delivering today.
How do you justify a $2.7 billion spend for an extra 8,000 seats?
Because this is about a legacy. This is about a stadium that is continuously used throughout the year, and the whole PDA linking in with the Cross River Rail is going to set this state up for the future.
What is it to the Raymond Park site?
Yes.
Is it part of the planning? Are there any resumptions that have to happen, and has there been enough consultation with people in that area?
Look, there'll be. I'll let the Deputy Premier address that tomorrow. He'll be talking more about that. But Raymond Park is absolutely needed as part of this. This is what we. I mean, let's not forget. This is what we presented to the International Olympic Committee. This is where we're going to have the opening ceremony, the closing ceremony over at the Gabba. Many people go to the Gabba. I mean, people go to Suncorp. People go to Brisbane Live. This is setting up a transformational place for people to come
Do you see why some
around the world.
Queenslanders might be concerned about the cost? It's already gone up $2 billion and it's still 9 years away.
Well, what I say to Queenslanders is they know my commitment to infrastructure in this state. My investment in health is over $9 billion in capital. We've got a fund of over $2 billion in housing, and I know that federally there's more money in relation to housing as well. And we have a $62 billion energy and jobs plan, which is basically in regional Queensland. So everyone gets to benefit with the capital spend that we are putting across the state.
$7 billion games and a $2.7 billion stadium. How realistically do you think it is that will be the final price tag?
Well, I'm very confident because we delivered a very successful Commonwealth Games. Now, the Olympics are the next level up, but we have so many of the existing infrastructure and the existing facilities. And this is going to set this state up for decades and decades to come.
Can I make this point about the Com Games? And
Yeah.
is that there were two projects there where I, as Infrastructure Minister, worked with the Queensland Government to make a difference. One, of course, was Gold Coast Light Rail,
Yep.
which everyone who looks at that says that was a precondition for people to get around the Gold Coast and for that Games to be such a success. In addition to that, the upgrades that we did to the Pacific Motorway, but also to the stadium there. Funded out of the Regional and Local Community Infrastructure Program, we put $37 million in, which was the largest single grant out of that program. It made a difference. All of that was opposed by the LNP at the time. They opposed, even the local members opposed that infrastructure. What we actually need to do, and one of the things about this vision that I can see as someone who doesn't live here, is how livable it will make this city. The transformational nature of all of the developments put together, along with the transport infrastructure that's been fully funded, it's got to be said, by the Queensland Government with Cross River Rail, because it was rejected by the Newman Government, the funding that was actually in the budget. So I just think this will make an incredible difference. And as people get closer and closer to 2032, the level of excitement will go up, and it will be a great Games, but a great legacy as well.
How many will be offset by the ticket sales, the sponsorship and the contribution from the IOC?
No, that's about the actual running of the Games itself. So
It'll be an extra $4.45 billion.
no. We'll get the figures for you, Lydia, but no, that's the cost neutral is the operational aspects of the game.
Premier, do you have a message for the students at East Brisbane Primary School?
Sorry?
Do you have a message for the students at East Brisbane Primary
Yeah. So some good news there. We are going to build them a brand new school. So the school will be located less than 2 kilometres from where the current school is. Minister Grace is currently speaking with the principal at the moment and will be coordinating communication with the parents. Years 4, 5 and 6, I'm advised, will complete their schooling at East Brisbane, and the school will be relocated in 2026.
Last one.
Does it go to Kimberley State Secondary College?
Last one.
On other infrastructure associated that will be needed for the games. Does this $7 billion doesn't include any transport projects, any rail projects, anything like that from you?
Well, Cross River Rail, okay, so Cross River Rail is already being built, okay, so that's already underway. That's fully funded by us. What was the second part of your question, sorry?
Like, one of the things that's been suggested is upgraded rail to the Sunshine Coast, for example.
Well, both the state and the federal government have forward infrastructure plans, you know, in excess of, you know, $40 or $50 billion over 4 years, and those specific transport plans will be mapped out as part of that continuation of the infrastructure funding.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Mr. Albanese, can we ask you a question about the economy very quickly?
Thank you.
The RBA Governor noted the risk the board has gone too far. Are you worried more interest rate hikes could push the economy into a recession?
Well, the RBA Governor gave evidence this week. We know that the issue of interest rates and cost of living is placing pressure on Australian families, and that's why we're seeking to take that pressure off, firstly through relief, and that relief consists of the cheaper medicines, the cheaper childcare that comes in, the fee-free TAFE as well. He's also spoken about supply chain constraints that are having an impact. He estimates between half and 2/3 of the pressure that's there on inflation in the economy, in part arising from the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And that's why we're dealing with skill shortages. That's why we have the National Reconstruction Fund as well. The third element of our response is restraint. Our fine treasurer here, put 99% of the revenue gains that had come through in the budget went back into paying off the debt that we inherited. The $1 trillion of debt that we inherited, along with skill shortages, along with no economic plan and not enough actual infrastructure investment. I mean, this issue that we're debating today is a classic example of something that we inherited. A thought that the Commonwealth was going to make a contribution, but you don't actually fund and build a stadium or build Brisbane Arena on a thought. You build it with real dollars, and that's what we've allocated. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Very positive.
Thanks.